Hey guys, Aaron Cybertron Zeng here, and today I'm back with another episode of Road to Ranked where I climb the online VGC 20 ladder and provide live commentary as I go. In yesterday's episode, we featured a really cool team with Torracat, so we'll be playing with that team just for a little bit more. As you guys can see, I'm cycling through teams every 2 to 3 episodes or so trying to keep things fresh and interesting, and hopefully you guys are enjoying that. So, as always, if you guys enjoy Road to Ranked, please share your support by leaving a like in the video, and thank you guys so much, as always, for continuing to watch the series and for supporting it. For the first game of today's episode, we're going up against a, really hyper-offensive team. This team resembles a lot of Pokemon we were seeing, especially in, Series 2. So, the Vanillix Dragapult combination is pretty common, where you, go for the Self-Ice Shard to activate the weakness policy. You have Whimsicott, obviously, for Tailwind and Fake Tear support, and Duraludon, obviously, is a Pokemon that Dynamaxes a lot. So, Triple Dragon, which is not very, very common, but, these are 3 of the strongest Pokemon you can really go up against. Clefairy, of course, reducing the damage output that we can dish out onto the opposing side as well. So, given this, Trick Room might be our best bet, mainly because we're not going to be able to keep up with the speed that our opponent has. Durant's not bad if my opponent didn't have, 1, the Dragapult, which might have Max Flare, and then 2, of course, the threat of Whimsicott just setting up Tailwind. So, I think we're probably going to want to lead Gothitelle. We do have the Cassib Berry as well, so we can take attacks decently well from the Dragapult should it go for a Max Phantasm. So one thing we could lead is just go Torracat Gothitelle to go for a Fake Out. With, I'm thinking, Tyranitar and Sylveon in the back. Alright, let's try that out. Dracovish is a pretty big threat, especially if Trick Room isn't up, because it's just going to be able to one-shot a lot of things. But I'm bringing Torracat here mainly for Fake Out support. One thing we could potentially do is switch into Tyranitar and self U-turn immediately turn 1, but I do think that we're not going to be able to match our opponent's speed in this game, so we're going to have to try to go with the Trick Room route. So let's see what our opponent leads with. Clefairy and Duraludon, actually. Okay, that's pretty interesting. The question of the day as well is, I'm curious what's one thing or skill that you guys want to learn. Obviously, VGC is a pretty good answer, but, just curious what you guys are always looking to improve in and looking to learn. For me, personally, right now, it's definitely cooking, but poker is a game that I really enjoy, but I'm quite bad at. That's the thing, the one thing that I really want to get good at right now. So, Duraludon and the Clef. Clef is actually really bad to go up against, I feel like. Because we can definitely set up Trick Room here. And instead of going for Fake Out, I'm kind of down to just Parting Shot into Duraludon, because we've trapped the Duraludon in. The problem for us right now is that we don't really put on much offensive pressure. Yeah, we have Sylveon and Tyranitar in the back, but this Clefairy is going to be pretty annoying to take care of. So Durant actually would have worked out really nicely as a lead here, but once again, I didn't feel very comfortable leading Durant when my opponent had Whimsicott, which would allow you to set up Tailwind and then anything else beats Durant, and part of Durant's value is being able to normally go first. But my opponent definitely came up with a better lead than me in this game, so we'll have to play our way around it. One thing I'm worried about is Helping Hand Max Darkness into the Gothitelle, and there is the Helping Hand. If it goes into the Torracat, though, I'd be fine. We're actually faster with Torracat. Okay, that's awesome. So that's actually huge. That negates the Helping Hand, essentially, which is really, really big. And this gives us a free switch in into... Here's the problem. I'm worried about what my opponent's going for with the Duraludon. I think I'd rather switch in Tyranitar, especially because we got that Parting Shot off. Because then we can just max Tyranitar immediately, and my opponent's trapped in right now. So the next turn we can max Tyranitar and go for Helping Hand, max Rockfall onto the Clefairy. So this is one of the reasons why Torracat has value, right, over Incineroar. It is a lot faster, so being able to get that Parting Shot off first is huge. There's a Max Darkness, yeah. But we should survive that now. Oh, it actually goes into Tyranitar, too. Okay. Even better for us, then. That being said, it is, likely that the Duraludon next turn probably goes for something like a Max Wormwind into Gothitelle. It's Life Orb Duraludon as well. Okay, that's good to know. Because this next turn, a fairly easy play my opponent can make is just go for Helping Hand and just target something down with Duraludon, but I too can go for Helping Hand, snipe down the Clefairy, and we'll have 1 extra turn of Dynamax as well as Trick Room being up, so I think that's honestly fine. So I'm going to Helping Hand, I'm going to max, and I'm just going to go for a Max Rockfall onto the Clef. One thing we do have to note, of course, is that there is that special defense route for Max Darkness, so I could see my opponent going for a Helping Hand Max Steel Spike. I don't think that KOs Tyranitar, and if anything, that would actually activate our weakness policy, but it would make things a little dicier. That being said, I think I have to knock out Clefairy right now. My opponent's team is actually really weak to Sylveon as well. So if Gothitelle were to go down here, we'd just get a free switch into Sylveon. I think we'd be able to sweep under Trick Room. So I think here, Clefairy could opt to protect as Duraludon maybe goes for a max Wormwind, but then, you know, that's another turn of Dynamax out of the way. But that turn one worked out decently for us. I would have actually preferred for Gothitelle to just take more damage there so then we can get a free switch in earlier, but I'll still take it, all things considered. But the problem is, if I break Gothitelle and Torracat, I obviously don't have very many offensive options, so I have to make use out of Tyranitar's 3 turns of Dynamax, as well as, you know, try to pivot Sylveon into a position where we can really put in a lot of work. So let's see if Clefairy goes for a Helping Hand, and if Duraludon does target the Tyranitar slot here. It's a relatively safe play, so it might have been better to actually... Ooh, okay, we're actually going to see the After You. That's cool. So that allows the Duraludon just to attack immediately, but he's actually going to offer the Max Darkness into the Gothitelle, and that is going to KO us. So that's actually more than fine with me. I think in my opponent's position, it might actually be better to go for like a Max Wormwind or a Steel Spike, just so you get like the defense boost or the attack decrease. Because with that, I think Helping Hand Rockfall KOs the Clefairy. I really hope so. If not, things will get a little trickier. So let's see if this is enough to KO. Okay, it's not, but I think after Sand it is. Should be. Okay, nice. Yeah, so the After You comes out, and that's one of the cool things that Clefairy gets to do to counter, you know, Trick Room teams. We actually had that when we were using the G-Max Alchemy team, but it didn't really end up being super relevant because we didn't use it very often. But Vanillix is going to come out, and right now you can obviously tell Sylveon and Duraludon are in pretty good spots. Or sorry, Sylveon and Tyranitar. The Sylveon's really, really great because it's super, super bulky. It's able to just do so much damage. The problem here is... We know it's Life Orb. I don't know if Hyper Voice. This doesn't have any Spadef boosts. So, or defense boosts for that matter. So, I'm pretty sure Hyper Voice and Max Steel Spike or Max Knuckle should just KO. We also could Quick Attack onto our own Tyranitar, but I actually don't know if +2 Max Knuckle is KOing the Duraludon, so I'm fine just going for this turn. The Vanillix doesn't scare me too much. If Duraludon max guards this turn, then Dynamax ends, and then we can max Rockfall Hyper Voice even into the Vanillix slot. Vanillix doesn't scare me that much because Sylveon's base special defense is pretty high, plus we have the Torracat in the back, which can obviously just go for a fast overheat. So no max guard comes out, which is really good. So I'm thinking this combination of Max Knuckle and Hyper Voice should just KO. Okay, let's see. We might fall just short, but yeah, I don't think a +2 Max Knuckle was KOing the Duraludon there either, so I think this play is still better to go for. Let's see if Hyper Voice does enough. Ah, misses out the KO. Okay, then I was thinking maybe it's better to double protect, but I don't know about that. I think unfortunately we will lose the Tyranitar here. Yeah, to a Steel Spike. But Dynamax now ends from Duraludon's end. We still have Trick Room, and we have Incineroar and Torracat. Or sorry, Torracat and Sylveon. Shame to Duraludon hung out with just a little bit of HP. I thought we would definitely get the KO there. So it might have been better to have protected Tyranitar that turn. Although after Hail, that Duraludon might faint. Let's see. Alright, Single Target Blizzard comes out. Still shouldn't KO us. Yeah, it actually really doesn't do that much. And we don't faint, or we don't get frozen, which is huge. Okay, Duraludon actually faints from that. So that's actually totally fine then. Because my opponent's team is really weak to Sylveon, I think. And there's still 2 turns of Trick Room to work with, so I think we're actually in a perfectly fine spot. If it's Dracovish in the back, we definitely win this. If it's Dragapult, my opponent might need a couple of protects to pull it off. It's going to be Dracovish. Okay, perfect. Yeah, that's why I thought Sylveon was really good in this matchup, but I wanted to save it for the back. And I didn't want to lead with it outright because it gets demolished by Duraludon. So I'm just double checking everything. I believe there's still 2 turns of Trick Room. Yep. So that's great. We got the Throat Spray off, so I think we can pretty simply just Hyper Voice. We know Sylveon outspeeds the Vanillux. So I'm just going to fake out the Dracovish. Yeah, I think that's fine. I mean, it's very rare for Dracovish to not be choiced, so regardless of what choice item it has here, fake out just covers the option of it somehow being slower than Sylveon. Because we would actually lose if it were slower. And if it is slower, then, I mean, Hyper Voice after the Throat Spray should just pick up a double KO here, especially with Hail being up. So, yeah, we didn't know if we were going to knock out the Duraludon there. Fortunately, after Life Orb and Hail, we did enough damage. The reason why I didn't protect that last turn is because if I protect, that wastes another turn of Trick Room, and then they can just go for Protect on Duraludon the following turn to stall yet another turn of Trick Room. So, I really want to just put on the pressure at that point, and fake out Hyper Voice picks up the double KO. So, beautiful. So Torracat was actually really huge for us in this matchup, once again, because it was able to get that really big parting shot off immediately turn 1. All things considered, like, it would have been pretty funny, because I actually don't think Max Darkness, even with Helping Hand, KOs Torracat. Although I don't know the damage roll on that. But, yeah, since Gothitelle wasn't even getting targeted, that actually kind of helped my opponent more, since it didn't give me a free switch in, but... yeah, pretty standard sets here. Cobra Berry is interesting. It was actually Mystic Water, so kind of surprised my opponent didn't opt for the Protect there in the end. Life Orb Duraludon without Protect. Sash was on the Vanillux, and then Weakness Policy Dragapult, which isn't surprising, given that, of course, Vanillux is on that team as well. And like I mentioned before the match started, you have to go for the Self-Ice Shard to activate the Weakness Policy. So, yeah. Otherwise, relatively happy about how that played out. I think the lead did not look very good for us, but I didn't want to go for Fake Out because of the fear of Helping Hand. Plus, like, if I Fake Out turn 1, I get Trick Room up, then I'm in a really weird spot turn 2 where I just, like, can't really do anything. So, that ended up working out. Really cool team from our next opponent. There's a Cinderace and a Pumpkin, which, you know, obviously is not super common. Triple Ghost once again. So a lot of players have been running like Dragapult plus Mimikyu. You can self-Shadow Sneak yourself to activate the Weakness Policy. You're on like a relatively bulky Dragapult, and after the Weakness Policy, not only are you bulky, but super strong. So Tyranitar obviously looks really good here, but Conkeldurr is obviously a really big threat. There's no threat of Intimidate from my opponent's end, so that makes my Lodic a little bit weaker as well, although could help out against the Cinderace. And once again, the problem of Durant here is we're going up against Dragapult, which might have a Fire-type attack, and then there's also Cinderace, which isn't super fun to go up against. Let's see. Sylveon, I think, could still be pretty good here. But in best of 1, I don't feel very comfortable bringing Durant. I think Durant is a Pokemon that often comes in this team in, like, the latter games, or if you're going up against a matchup where it can just completely sweep. But without knowing our opponent's sets here, I'm not super comfortable bringing it. The question is, what am I comfortable bringing? How do I beat Mimikyu and Dragapult? Because I think that's actually pretty likely. Oh, I don't have a good answer against that. I guess we go Sylveon, Gothitelle, Tyranitar. Torracat's not that great here. I think my lead is maybe a little bit too passive here, although I do think that I kind of get rolled if the Weakness Policy just activates, and because Dragapult just puts in so much work. But at least by leading Gothitelle Sylveon, you can only target one of 2 Pokemon. And you obviously don't want to take a huge attack from... like, what we can do then is just Trick Room and Yawn. And one thing gets KO'd, but we get a guaranteed attack off there. It's actually going to be Pumpkaboo and Dragapult. Okay. Now that's interesting. So they're going to be able to frisk us here and see our items. Which is fine. That might also have Shadow Sneak as well. I actually haven't seen this duo before, but I wouldn't be surprised. So I think I'm actually going to just go for Yawn and Trick Room here. So the plan is still the same. That was my plan against the Mimikyu initially. And the idea is I either get Trick Room up and you KO something. You KO the Sylveon, which gives me the free switch into Tyranitar, or you KO Gothitelle and I get the Yawn off against Dynamax Dragapult at +2. But I think this is a pretty scary matchup. I don't think I could have really brought Torracat because Intimidate doesn't work against the Dragapult. If Trick Room is up, we're actually going to be faster than a bunch of things. And, like, I could have maybe led Torracat plus Tyranitar, I guess. But the threat of Conkeldurr scared me a little bit. Plus, I don't know, Mimikyu could burn us as well with Will-O-Wisp. So, the inability to... ooh. Brutal Swing Weakness Policy. Okay. Well, that also makes sense. The Weakness Policy on Dragapult isn't surprising. This no Dynamax is interesting, though. Oh, that was really clever. So my opponent Phantom Force there, expecting Trick Room to go up. And now what they can do this next turn is actually reverse Trick Room with Gourgeist. Well, that was really cool. Question is who gets targeted here. That was actually really, really smart. That was really smart. So maybe I should have yawned the pumpkin. Hyper Voice here will get my Throat Spray activated. Yeah, I don't want to switch out. I want the free switch into Tyranitar because I don't want that to take any damage because that's our main win condition. Brutal Swing isn't priority, is it? Oh, he ally switches too. Okay. Actually, the fact that it's Ally Switch and not Trick Room is fine, because this means that you KO one of my Pokemon, but I get a free switch into Tyranitar. And if for some reason you KO'd the Gothitelle, that would be amazing, but presumably you would KO Sylveon in this position. That was a cheeky Ally Switch, but a smart one. Phantom Force does go into Sylveon, and we actually survive! Let's go, Sylveon! That's a huge survival. So now we can just Hyper Voice, and go for maybe even Helping Hand, actually. Unless it actually has Shadow Sneak. Does it even get Shadow Sneak? I don't know. We're about to find out. Ally Switch, though, I would expect, like, Trick Room could have Trick or Treat, Will-O-Wisp, a Grass type attack, Ghost type attack, even. I mean, it has its options for sure. But Helping Hand Hyper Voice would just pick up a double KO. Okay. Well, no switch outs, which is interesting. He does have Shadow Sneak and Brutal Swing. That's brutal. No pun intended. Okay. Yeah, I guess I should have played around that then. Just gonna Phantom Force again. Oh my god. Okay, so we bring in Tyranitar here then. I mean, this isn't over by any means, but I could have gotten a lot more off that turn. I gambled it didn't have Shadow Sneak because it already had Brutal Swing to begin with. So Shadow Sneak, Brutal Swing, and Ally Switch, which is definitely quite the moveset. I don't want to max this turn, but there's only one more turn of Trick Room, which is kind of concerning. And because I think Ally Switch might come out, I'm just going to Helping Hand Rock Slide. Because I don't want to waste a turn of Dynamax. But that was not a great last turn, obviously. And now we know Gourgeist does have Shadow Sneak, which isn't obviously surprising, but he's actually going to sneak the Gothitelle. Okay, so that gets the Berry out of the way. Might be just a double up into that slot. Really smart uses of Phantom Force in this game. Although I really thought my opponent could have just maxed and KO'd Gothitelle turn 1, but what my opponent did actually ended up working out better for them. Okay, yeah, double up on 2 with Gothitelle. That's fine. Gothitelle served its purpose, but the main thing in this game that I wasn't able to do well was utilize my turns of Trick Room as effectively as possible. Okay. The problem is that we only have 1 turn of Trick Room left, right? So we only get to do damage this turn. Presumably Dragapult's protecting, and whatever's coming in might actually be Conkeldurr. If it's Conkeldurr, I think we're in a lot of trouble. And it should be Conkeldurr, honestly. I'd be very surprised if it weren't. Yeah. Wait, is that Conkeldurr? No, that's Milotic, actually. Huh. Did they not bring Conkeldurr? That would be very interesting. Okay, so here's the thing. We actually can't max Darkness, otherwise we give Milotic a competitive boost. I think Dragapult here almost always wants to protect. So I could play it safe, which would be to just max, or actually just crunch into the Dragapult. Or I could make a read, say Dragapult definitely protects here. And target Milotic. The problem is that Milotic is actually a little bit hard to deal with as well. The read I want to make is max Tyranitar, max Knuckle the Milotic. And Muddy Water. Actually, no, I'd rather Ice Beam. I mean, this is a little risky, but it's the last turn of Trick Room. I don't see why you wouldn't protect the Dragapult. And because I'm behind, I feel like I kind of need to make a big play to get back into it. But my opponent could, read into that being like, okay, I'm already ahead. If they don't target Dragapult for whatever reason, then I get free damage off. If Conkeldurr is the last one, then it actually makes a lot of sense to not even bother protecting Dragapult. But I think I have to max Tyranitar to have a shot at winning. Okay. Is it a double protect, or did my opponent... Okay, at least it was a double protect. So we get a Knuckle off, which is nice. And so the awkward thing about Dragapult right now is if you max, you go for like what? Max Phantasm and Max Wormwind. Both of those activate Milotic's competitive, which is quite nice. We know it's physical Dragapult as well, so even at +2, I'm not sure it KOs. Now, one play my opponent could make is obviously max the Dragapult and just go try to snipe Milotic and get a big KO immediately. So we could read into that by protecting Milotic. And, okay, it's lefties Milotic, the opposing end as well. Because this is still definitely winnable. What would the Dragapult... Would you really max Dragapult here? That's super risky in my opinion. So we got the most out of that turn, which is the attack boost onto Tyranitar, which I'll honestly take. I don't even know if a +2 Phantasm KOs Milotic, but I don't know if I can risk Milo getting KO'd here. It just seems really risky to actually attack. Like, I'm leaning towards going just for max Rockfall onto the Milotic and Ice Beaming Dragapult. The alternative is protect Milotic. I guess it's maybe better to play it safe here. The problem is if my opponent actually just goes for another Phantom Force, which I actually think is coming my way. Okay, I ended up protecting, but that might not have been the correct play. If he maxes Dragapult, something is maxing. If Dragapult maxes here, then this is actually worth it. I don't remember what Pokeball came in. Okay, it does max. Oh, but I went for max Rockfall instead of max Darkness onto that. Oh, that's bad. I don't know if that KO's at +1 attack. Okay. It also might be a max Wormwind into Tyranitar. He's actually Steel Spiking. Oh, that's actually really smart. You get the defense boost. Ah, I should have maxed Darkness there then. But then that would have given Milotic the boost, but I think it's fine giving Milotic the boost. That was smart. He's Coil too. If it's Coil, so it's normally Coil, Protect, Muddy Water, Hypnosis, which is interesting, so no Recover. But I should have maxed Darkness there. This Dragapult's gonna survive now for sure. Yeah, and if we actually Ice Beam there, the Dragapult's getting KO too. That was a really clever play. I don't know if the Dragapult KOs us. My opponent might just go for the Hypnosis now. It's not 100% accurate, but yeah. Steel Spike I just completely discounted. I didn't even think that was an option. So that caught me off guard very much. I think now you probably Wormwind into Milotic and Hypnosis Tyranitar. So how do I win this? I have to hope that Wormwind doesn't KO us. We KO the Dragapult in return. I kind of want to actually knock out the Milotic. I'm just double checking who would go first here. Yeah, Milotic's faster. I mean, yeah, I think I just Ice Beam Max Rockfall. That last turn was rough. I should have Max Darkness, but I was worried about Milotic getting the competitive boost, but at this point in the game, maybe I shouldn't have been too worried about that. Okay, Milotic protects, but Dragapult doesn't. Does Dragapult KO us with Weakness Policy? It's gonna be Phantasm. Let's see if it's enough to KO. Okay, it is. That's game then. Really well played by my opponent. Oh, that was a crit. I think that crit actually might have mattered, because this is, like, very, very defensively bulky, Milotic. I'm actually curious about that calc, so I'm going to do it, because I actually don't know off the top of my head. And my intuition tells me that I think I could have survived, but I'm not 100% sure. But I think the game was going to be tough to win after last turn anyway. Yeah, given how my opponent played, which was really, really smart. Yeah, we had a little bit of chip damage, but I think that might have still been a roll onto us. Depends on also if it was like max attack Dragapult or not. But the main thing, the main misplay in this game was that I discounted. I didn't think about Steel Spike, and if I'm considering the option of Steel Spike, Max Darkness is definitely the correct play to go for there. Because even if I give Milotic a competitive boost, like I'm Dynamax Tyranitar in Sand, so your Muddy Waters are actually going to activate our Weakness Policy. So the priority there was to KO Dragapult, and I was like, oh, I have the attack boost. Rockfall should KO, covers the option of it switching out as well. And I don't want to give the competitive boost, but yeah, Steel Spike totally didn't consider it, and my opponent very smartly targeted the Milotic, actually, probably predicting the Protect that turn as well. Had we just Ice Beam there, we actually would have been fine as well, so very smart play. My opponent was really highly ranked there, so not a surprise based off how they played that game. Otherwise, let me think. I also, misplayed by thinking, oh, it probably doesn't have Shadow Sneak on the Gourgeist because we already saw the Brutal Swing, so Brutal Swing, Ally Switch, and Shadow Sneak, definitely an interesting combination. That turn was bad because it wasted a turn of my Dynamax, basically. And I went for the Helping Hand that turn, so instead I could have gone for, like, Quick Attack Psychic instead. So a bunch of small misplays in this game that definitely added up. But good to know that that's what Gourgeist can do. Go for the Brutal Swing first onto the Dragapult. Third team of the day, really cool stuff. We're going up. There's a Snorlax and a Goodra. So I'm thinking with this team, you Dynamax Lapras or Goodra a lot, but maybe Snorlax as well. I could see Lapras setting up screens so that Snorlax is able to Belly Drum, which, you know, definitely be pretty scary. Bisharp actually is quite tough to go up against, but I think this is a match for Durant. The one thing I don't like going up against here with Durant is the Gourgeist, so we're going to have to want to counter that. But I think Durant's actually quite solid here, especially with our ability to, you know, get some boosts off. And the biggest threat to Durant is that Gourgeist. I'm not the biggest fan of Gothitelle here, mainly because I don't think Trick Room actually helps us that much. And Bisharp kind of dunks on us. I'm actually thinking Durant Sylveon because my opponent doesn't have that many options to actually KO Sylveon, and Sylveon can really yawn things here given the slow nature of my opponent's team. And in the back, I'm leaning towards just going Milotic and Tyranitar. I think Tyranitar is good here because if the Lapras Gigantamaxes, it's often going to get the rain up, so we want to change the weather to sand just to reduce its damage output. And Torracat isn't that great here since a lot of my opponent's Pokemon are either special attackers or Bisharp, which obviously gets a boost from Intimidate. And the last one is Snorlax, which if you are Belly Drum, you really don't care that much about Intimidate. So it looks like it is going to be Lapras and Alchemy here, which I'll take. I think this is actually really good for Durant and Sylveon, in fact. Okay. So, we don't want to activate a weakness policy here. What I'm actually leaning towards is maxing. Here's the interesting question. How fast is Alchemy relative to us? Because we could double up on that with a max Steel Spike and a Quick Attack, just so it doesn't get a Decorate off onto the Lapras. The problem, obviously, is if it protects turn 1. I also don't know my Durant calcs into Alchemy, like how much Max Quick plus Quick Attack, like whether that'd be enough to KO. I want to say it wouldn't be enough. The alternative would be to actually Yawn. Like, I'm actually thinking the other play we could make is Protect Durant and Yawn, but I think I'm just going to try to snipe Alchemy turn 1. The Quick Attack covers the Focus Sash option. I don't know, I think it is pretty likely it protects, though. It might have been safer. Like, I really wanted to protect Yawn, but if my opponent goes for Decorate and then Max Geyser, that would be really bad. And once again, I don't know how much Max Quake from Durant does, because if Max Quake brings it down to Sash anyway, then I'd want to go for it. Lapras is going to max, which is... I mean, I guess it could be Alchemy maxing, but that'd be surprising. So if Alchemy doesn't protect turn 1, I'll take this trade, for sure. Even if the screens goes up. Especially because we have Yawn and we have Max Quake, so the following turn we can Max Quake to give ourselves a special defense boost, and then Yawn the Lapras. Okay, no protect, which is good. So we should snipe the Alchemy here. Oh, it's called Berry Berry. It doesn't survive this, does it? Unless it's max HP and defense. Okay, good. I was like, if it survives, that would be crazy. I went for Quick Attack there just to cover the option of it being Focus Sashed, which, you know, Febzy's Alchemy was, and some Alchemies do like carrying Focus Sash. So I wanted to be, you know, played safe there. It's going to be G-Max Resonance. Okay, so screens are going to go up, which obviously isn't ideal, but I think Sylveon should take this, yeah, decently. After a Max Quake, we should survive a Max Geyser as well, so what we can do this next turn is just go for a Max Quake and then Yawn. I think Gourgeist probably comes out, but Lapras honestly is not as scary of a threat in this matchup because it doesn't do that much damage, whereas like Max Gourgeist could actually be really scary. Even Bisharp, I guess. But we have that defense boost now. Whatever comes in is obviously threatened immensely by offense as well. It is going to be the Bisharp, which is interesting. Okay. Because my opponent knows, well, they've seen some of my attacks. It is pretty safe to just Max Quake and Quick Attack here into Bisharp, honestly. Because you're not knocking out Sylveon anyway, we get that special defense boost. I just really want to Yawn into the Lapras, but perhaps that's not actually that important. It's just Bisharp protecting here is super obvious, right? So if I could predict the protect, and instead just go for Yawn onto the Lapras. Maybe that's actually fine. Because my opponent's in a really bad spot if they do protect the Bisharp here, and I've revealed the Quick Attack last turn. But they don't go for it. Okay, that's unfortunate. Unless it's not sashed here. Because this should KO it. Wow. Okay, let's go Durant. That should be game, honestly, but let's not get ahead of ourselves. This is, like, what I mean, though. Durant comes out in these matchups where your opponent can't really outspeed you, nor do they have great speed control. So in this matchup, like, Durant just naturally outsped everything. Sylveon's actually faster than Lapras, too, which is good. So we get that guaranteed Yawn off. And once again, yeah, I brought the Tyranitar so that in the late game I can control the weather against Lapras. And after the special defense boost, Durant takes that pretty decently. Rain is obviously going to get set up, so we might just get KO'd next turn. But Lapras is obviously falling asleep after this turn. And whatever comes in now might have to eat up a yawn as well. And I feel pretty confident in my Lodic. Ooh, it's actually Sylvia. Yeah, I mean, my opponent's team was just super Durant weak, honestly. And given that Sylveon's here, we can actually just go for Max Steel Spike into Sylveon and just switch out into Tyranitar, which allows us to survive a Max Geyser. Now, I think Sylveon definitely protects here. Actually, I don't know. Yeah, I don't want to play with Hustle, but if I switch in now, actually my Lodix, or sorry, we actually don't need Durant to survive, do we? Yeah, it's actually fine to just Max Steel Spike, and I don't mind even switching out into my Lodic right now. Yeah, I actually think this is fine too, because Max Steel Spike obviously KO Sylveon. Even if you Max Geyser S, the Lapras falls asleep after this turn. Yeah, so Protect comes out here. No Focus Sash was interesting on Bisharp, though. I'm guessing it was Life Orb then. But trying to think what on this team is Focus Sash then, given that. How much damage that does. That's so much damage. Yeah. So we still do like 50%. Now, we could have gone for a Max Quake. And actually, in retrospect, maybe Max Quaking there might be better, just because then it makes my Lodic like nearly unkillable. He's actually going to go for Max Lightning. Okay. I don't even know if that KOs us. No, it doesn't. Oh, but that's cool. You set up the terrain so you don't fall asleep. Smart. That was the one way my opponent had around that. So, if we just hit Iron Head here, we're good. It's probably going to be Weakness Policy, Lapras, but after 5 turns I'll be able to tell. It's very rare for Lapras to not be Weakness Policy or Light Clay. So I'm just going to go for Iron Head. Now, there's obviously a decent chance it's Quick Attack. I actually think I want to switch into Tyranitar just so... Actually, yeah, I think switching to Tyranitar makes a lot of sense, because that would activate our Weakness Policy, and you might be Quick Attacking us. And then Thunder is also not entirely accurate. And we just need to chip away at the Sylveon, so I'll just Ice Beam it. We haven't won this game yet, so we still have to be careful, despite having a really good early lead. Although, actually, I don't even know if Quick Attack would have KO'd Durant there, because we did go for 2 Max Steel Spikes, so probably not. It might have been better just to have gone for the Iron Head there. You might try to go for a Double Protect here. My Lodic is actually the fastest out of everything here. That's interesting. Citrus Berry. Okay. So just gonna Hyper Voice. That's fine. It actually activates our Weakness Policy now. No Quick Attack there too, which makes me think it doesn't have it. But yeah, I think maybe Iron Heading was just safer, because now I risked Tyranitar taking way too much damage. But he is gonna opt for the Thunder, and yeah, that's why I switched in. I don't think that was KO my Lodic anyway, but actually might have been close. I wasn't expecting the Citrus Berry though, because I was like, oh, I can just chip away at the Sylveon. We should be good. Yeah. I'm just double checking. I think our Sylveon outspeeds our Milotic, so it should just do even more damage. Oh, this Milotic's actually really speedy. Never mind. Okay. But given that Sylveon outsped Lapras, I think if Tyranitar just goes first here, we just win. And I'm just going to recover here, actually. I should have stayed in with Durant, just gone for the Iron Head. I don't think Quick Attack was KOing, honestly, with the 2 defense boosts that we had. Even though we were at like 6 HP. Okay. We should survive this Hyper Voice. 1 HP, yeah. We actually miss Sylveon. Okay, but that's fine. It might have been smarter for me to actually have just gone for a superpower there then. We actually flinched, but... Yeah, I mean... The same game was a little hacksy. I actually think I played it really poorly, in retrospect. So I'm actually not really happy about that. I also... Yeah, I mean, so it's obviously not Weakness Policy. Like, I think I played the early game super well and this end game really poorly. Because, like, I didn't think Hyper Voice would KO us. So we hung out with 1 HP, so... Maybe 2 high rolls actually gets that KO. We have our own Sylveon now, so that should just be able to win. There's still, how many turns of screens? 3 turns. So it is obviously Light Clade. Lapras shouldn't have a way to heal back up, though, so I think I'm just going to protect here. And just wait to stall out the screens, basically. Yeah. Because Lapras doesn't have a way to recover, obviously. I don't think it gets... Alright, I guess it gets Life Dew, doesn't it? So it could stall out with Life Dew. But my opponent's also taking sand damage every turn, and that honestly helps out as well. So this endgame could have been cleaner. I should have stayed in with Durant just gone for the Iron Head. Even if I miss, like, my Tyranitar doesn't take any damage. And Tyranitar is actually the most important win condition. So I actually think I kind of tossed it by switching in Tyranitar. Like, that risk just wasn't worth it, honestly. That actually does a very comfortable amount. Oh, that was a crit. Okay. Making things a little dicier, but I think we should be good here anyway, honestly. Yeah, especially because there's only 2 turns of screen left. I think Lapras actually just faints from 2 more turns of sand. Ice Beam's going to do, like, very little damage to it, but I think I'll still go for it until that slot, because as soon as this is a 2v1, we obviously just win the game. But, once again, I tossed this by not staying in with Durant, because, like, I win if my Tyranitar just doesn't take any damage, and there's no reason for me to have taken, like, any bit of damage there. So, Ice Beam does the smallest amount of damage I think I've ever seen Ice Beam do. Obviously, the Rock Slide hitting Sylveon probably would have just ended this game as well. The flinch, I guess, kind of made up for that. Chance of flinching is obviously higher than missing, but like I said, once again, I think this that second half of this game was pretty poorly played on my end. Especially because if Sylveon actually gets that knockdown, I mean, this could be very different, right? I just didn't want to risk the hustle. I was worried about the quick attack plus Thunder hitting, because Thunder in terrain I thought maybe would do like way too much damage that I would be comfortable with. But at that point, my low deck doesn't really matter, right? The main win condition is Tyranitar, and even a Hyper Voice and a Hydro Pump won't KO Tyranitar, so all we needed to do was get a free switch into that. So shouldn't have unnecessarily tried to switch it in, basically. But now we know, obviously, I'm faster with Sylveon, so I can just Hyper Voice here and go for Iron Head. Yeah. Hyper Voice also activates our Throat Spray. So my opponent needs to hope for us to miss here, but we don't miss. The other thing that caught me off guard was the Max Lightning, which isn't super surprising, right? Like, I was running Lightning Lapras as well, but I thought I had the game for sure once I went for that Yawn. And that wasn't the case, so yeah. Had Iron Head missed there, things would have been interesting. Like, I think our Sylveon's outspeeding the opposing Sylveon anyway, so we get the Hyper Voice off, Throat Spray activates. The opposing Sylveon takes more sand damage, and then the next turn we can just, the screens are over, and then another Hyper Voice just KOs. But I think it also might have made more sense to have protected Durant there. Although then we would just lose if the Sylveon is faster. So yeah, this Alchemy didn't even have Protect, Light Clay Lapras, as we said. Citrus, yeah, the other thing was Citrus. Citrus really caught me off guard here, because I was like, oh, I'll just be able to stall away and chip away at it. This is a really interesting Snorlax. It's Figgy Berry with no way to boost its damage output. Weakness Policy Bisharp, wow. And AV Goodra. Okay. So I think like the team definitely revolves pretty heavily around Alchemy, and in this game Bisharp was just able to deny everything from the opposing end. So a couple misplays definitely today, but this team is really, really strong, and I think there's a reason why different versions of it have done very well throughout the course of the season. So fun to feature Torracat a little bit more. You know, we featured both Max Tyranitar and Max Durant. I think once again, both the second and third game, there were some plays that could have been better, but we were playing against really good opponents too, and definitely, you know, learning a couple things as well. So yeah, that's gonna be it for this one, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. As always, leave a like if you enjoyed, and don't forget to answer the question of the day. Let me know what one skill or one thing you want to learn is. So yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. All right, peace.